The era of Voltaire is upon us. Let's take a look at the milestones of this last era, delegated voting through Project Catalyst, and the upcoming Mainnet launch of the Lace wallet. It's time for the weekly report. Welcome back to Woodland Pools. Today it's time for the weekly report. So, the last Thursday of the month means Cardano360. Let's jump in. As always, we'll link down below chapters to all these different sections so you can dig into each of them in additional detail if you would like. But let's take a look at some of the highlights. The first thing that they went into was a development update, and Kevin Hammond covered the recent update that we had on Valentine's Day to Cardano node 135.5, which, as a reminder, brings interoperability for dApps to be able to work with other chains more easily using different cryptographic primitives, which makes encrypting and decrypting on different chains a lot more straightforward for developers. And then next we got an update from Nigel, who last year when we had all those big hard forks coming was the head of delivery for IOG, and now he's been promoted to VP of Voltaire. And so this makes sense because 2023 is going to be all about the era of Voltaire. It's the last remaining era in the Cardano roadmap, and we're going to be hearing more and more about this over and over again this year.
We are delivering Voltaire via three governance pillars: the MBO, the Constitution, and democratic consent. The first pillar is the MBO, the members-based organisation. This will be the aggregation point for all community members. It's the administrator of all the governance processes that enable the continued roadmap and delivery and development of Cardano. The Constitution is our rule set. It's a set of rules all community members will abide by in their participation of the ecosystem. It's a set of guiding rights and principles for every community member who wishes to participate. The third pillar, which is our final pillar, is democratic consent. And this is the enabler. This is the technical implementation which will enable the wider governance and mass community participation made possible through blockchain technology. The key to this is SIP 1694, which is the implementation that enables any community member to vote or to contribute on any Cardano change.
And as he mentioned, SIP 1694 is being discussed at IOG this week here in warm, sunny Colorado, and this will serve as the first of many conversations with leaders in the Cardano community, giving IOG feedback on how Voltaire is going to be rolled out and what's the best way to include the community in this self-governance platform. Next, we got an update on Project Catalyst. They've actually recently kicked off a brand new website for Project Catalyst. A lot of people were complaining that the old idea scale page was kind of hard to work with, so they're trying to do a full rebrand here, because if we remember, the whole point of Project Catalyst has been to be a proving ground and sort of a testing bed for Voltaire ahead of its full rollout. So for the past few years, it's been sort of a nice way to test this, but now that we're getting into the age of Voltaire, we're seeing a lot more scrutiny and a lot more attention coming to Catalyst, because the idea is if we're going to roll this out at a mass scale and Project Catalyst is the testing ground, let's make sure this is working as well as it possibly can. Now, we recently completed Fund 9, and we're about to kick off Fund 10 for Project Catalyst, and before that kicks off, they're going to be hosting what they're calling a special voting event. So we should get more details about this SVE in the near future, but I think they're trying to do this for two different reasons. One, they want to get community feedback about what the focus of Fund 10 is going to be, and two, I think they're trying to get people used to doing voting outside of just Project Catalyst funds and getting people more engaged. To participate in the SVE, you'll need to register for Project Catalyst. Additionally, one of the issues with Catalyst is not that many people have been participating, and if our idea is that we're trying to move to Voltaire, where we have self-governance and you have a lot of people participating in the process of how Cardano moves forward, we need a way to bring more people in that doesn't require them to be researching every single topic. And that's where we get the idea of dReps, or Delegated Representatives. So this is a notion that anybody in the Cardano ecosystem can delegate their voting power, the same as how you delegate your staking power to a stake pool. You can delegate your voting power to a delegated representative, and then they can vote on your behalf. So this is a cool concept because now we start seeing that your ADA that sits in your wallet is now multi-dimensional. It has its value of how much the ADA is worth. It's got its staking power when you delegate to a stake pool, and now it's also got its voting power that you can delegate to a delegated representative if you would like. Delegated representatives, voting, Catalyst, all of this is going to be part of the pillars that makes up the era of Voltaire, so expect to hear a lot more about all of these things over and over again in this coming year. About half of this month's 360 was dedicated to the Building on Cardano section, and we'll link down below those sections of the different projects, including an update on JED and their recent launch to Mainnet, but I wanted to really dig into this section on the Lace wallet. wallet. So Lace is only available on the pre-prod testnet right now, but their launch to mainnet is imminent. But one of the cool things that they did in preparation for this mainnet launch is that the Lace wallet hosted a Twitter space and invited a few different people from the community to join them as speakers, and I was fortunate enough that they invited us at Woodland Pools to be part of that conversation. And now they have a really ambitious roadmap for all the different things that they want to do, and I had a bunch of questions for the team, but I was only allowed to ask one, and so with that, I asked a question that I know a lot of you have been wondering about for a really long time.
One of the things that I get a lot of complaints about right now is when people try and delegate to multiple pools, you have to do the whole workaround and making multiple accounts and stuff like that. And I remember when I first at the summit in 2021 in Wyoming, first saw the first proof of concept for Lace. One of the things that immediately caught my eye was sort of that beautiful looking integration of the notion of partial delegation built immediately into the wallet, where you can do it sort of all in one place and don't have to worry about this cumbersome sort of multiple accounts and all of that kind of thing. So given that Lace is going to be sort of that way for IOG to put these new features out as soon as they come out, is sort of a question for both the Lace team and Charles. When partial delegation, right? Like, when are we looking at that, like, for the next hard fork, or is that going to be like in October, or is it still open-ended? Like, how's that looking?
I've been deeply frustrated about how long it takes to get certain features out. And that's another reason why we pivoted towards the Lace approach, because I've been asking for partial delegation for 3 fucking years, and the same for multi-sig. And I'm now getting to a point where I'm holding people directly accountable, and their continued employment is contingent on getting these things done. It should not take 3 years to get a feature like partial delegation done. There were a variety of reasons for that, why historically it happened, and we had to make tough priorities. But now we're at a position where things are moving along very quickly, and that feature will happen this year, hopefully in the first half. We'll see. But this is now connected to people's KPIs and our expectations, and as a commercial project, things have to get out. And there's no excuse for these things being dragged, and they will happen.
So clearly Charles hears it, he's frustrated about it, he wants to make sure that it happens soon, so hopefully we should be seeing native partial delegation in our wallets sometime this year. I recommend that you listen to the whole space. He continued with a much longer answer there, where he talked about the infrastructure decisions that they had made, where Lace is getting a slow start right now, but they have a really strong building blocks that they're making on the bottom that should make things, aside from just partial delegation, but a bunch of other stuff, much easier to rapidly iterate from this point moving forward. Definitely check that space out. Let me know what you think about the Lace wallet and the upcoming era of Voltaire, and if nothing else, we'll see you next week.